Hi everyone, I'm Jamie, and welcome to EPT, English Podcast Times, the show where we discuss fascinating topics to spark your curiosity, and maybe even learn something new along the way. I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Sophia.
Hey everyone! I'm so excited to dive into today's topic. It's going to be a good one. Today, we're tackling a really important topic, navigating housing and homeownership. Why does it feel so out of reach for many millennials and Gen Z? And why are so many people choosing to rent instead of buy?
That's right. There's this huge generational divide when it comes to housing, and it's pretty clear that for millennials and Gen Z, homeownership feels like something that's slipping further and further out of reach.
Definitely. When we were growing up, the idea was that buying a home was the next logical step in life. You finish school, get a job, maybe settle down, and then buy a house, right? But for many of us, it's not that simple.
And it's not just because people aren't trying hard enough. The cost of housing has skyrocketed, and wage growth has barely kept up. And we can't forget the rising costs of living in general. So let's break this down a little bit.
Absolutely. First of all, home prices. In some cities, the price of buying a home has more than doubled in the last 10 or 20 years. The average home price in the U.S. now is over $400,000, which is a steep price to pay, especially when you factor in the 20% down payment that's often expected.
And for many people, especially in cities with high demand, it's just not feasible. You need a significant down payment, so where do you get that money? In many cases, parents or family are expected to help, but not everyone has that support. And then, when you finally get the mortgage, the payments are often so high that it feels like you'll never really own the house.
It's true. But even beyond the purchase price, the monthly costs can be staggering. Interest rates have been fluctuating, but even a small change in rates can add hundreds of dollars to your mortgage each month. And with inflation still lingering, it feels like a lot of people are barely keeping up.
Exactly. And for millennials and Gen Z, it's not just about buying a house anymore, it's about surviving the housing market. That's why we're seeing a huge shift toward renting as a long-term lifestyle. Renting isn't just a temporary solution anymore. For many, it's the only realistic option.
Renting gives people flexibility, which is huge in today's world. A lot of people are prioritizing lifestyle over long-term commitments. You don't have to worry about home repairs, property taxes, or major responsibilities. Plus, renting allows people to move around easily, which is ideal when you want to live in different places without being tied to a specific location.
Right, and renting has its perks. You're not stuck with a mortgage, so if life changes, whether it's a new job, a move across the country, or simply wanting a new adventure, you don't have to worry about selling a house or staying put. In a lot of ways, renting feels like a more practical and accessible option.
But there's a flip side to all of this. While renting provides flexibility, it doesn't offer the same security as homeownership. In some cities, rent prices have skyrocketed too. And renters can be at the mercy of their landlord. Prices can go up. Leases can be ended without notice. And there's no guarantee that you'll even have a place to live in a year.
That's a really good point. And then there's the fact that renting doesn't build any equity. It's a place to live, but it's not an investment. A lot of people want to buy, but the prices are just too high for them to afford.
Right. And for some people, renting becomes a lifestyle. It's something they've come to accept as part of their reality. But at the same time, we're seeing the rise of creative living solutions that offer people a different kind of homeownership. Things like co-living, tiny homes, and even van life.
Let's start with co-living. I think it's such an interesting trend. Co-living spaces offer shared apartments or houses where individuals have private rooms but share common areas. It's a great way to save money and live in a space that might otherwise be too expensive.
Yes, and it's not just for people who can't afford their own place. There's a social component to co-living too. You get to live with like-minded people, maybe even share responsibilities, and create a kind of community that you wouldn't get from traditional renting.
And there's definitely something appealing about the social aspect. I mean, how many people in big cities feel isolated despite living in close quarters with thousands of others? Co-living offers a built-in sense of community, and for a lot of people, that's something they really crave.
Exactly. But, of course, it's not for everyone. Sharing space, especially when it comes to kitchens and bathrooms, can be a challenge. And privacy is a big factor that some people aren't willing to give up.
No doubt. But the beauty of co-living is that it's an option, and for some, it's the best option. Now, moving to another creative solution: tiny homes. Tiny homes have gained a lot of attention in recent years, and for good reason.
Tiny homes offer a more affordable way to own property. They're small, but they're efficient and often customizable. The best part is, you can build one on land that's less expensive or even on wheels, so you can take it wherever you go.
Right, tiny homes fit into this new wave of thinking where people are questioning how much space they really need. Do you really need a 3,000 square foot house? Or would you be happier in a smaller, more efficient space?
And with tiny homes, it's all about minimizing your possessions and living more simply. It's also an option for those who don't want to be tied down to a specific location. Whether you're parking it on a piece of land or on the back of a trailer, it gives you freedom.
And then there's van life. I've heard so many stories of people just packing up and hitting the road, living out of converted vans. It's a lifestyle that combines mobility with the ability to still have a home.
Yeah, and it's all about freedom, right? The ability to live on your own terms, to explore new places while still having your own space to call home. Van life also appeals to those who feel like they're just not getting the kind of connection or fulfillment they want from traditional homeownership.
But like all of these creative living solutions, van life isn't without its challenges. Finding places to park, dealing with weather, or keeping up with the maintenance of a van, these can be tough. But for many, the pros outweigh the cons.
It's a tough choice, no matter which way you go. But what's clear is that people today are looking for alternatives to traditional homeownership. Whether it's renting, co-living, tiny homes, or van life, the desire for flexibility, freedom, and a lifestyle that reflects personal values is strong.
So, to wrap things up, the way we think about housing and homeownership is shifting. The dream of owning a home might not be as realistic for everyone as it once was, but there are definitely more paths to finding a place that feels like home.
Exactly. There's no one-size-fits-all approach anymore. And whatever path you choose, the most important thing is finding something that works for you and that aligns with your goals and values.
Well said. Thanks for tuning into EPT. We hope you found some insight into the changing landscape of housing and homeownership. We'll catch you next time.
Let us know in the comments below, and feel free to suggest any topics you'd like us to explore next. We're always looking for fresh ideas and love hearing what you're interested in.
Thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with anyone who might enjoy the conversation.
Mortgage, meaning a loan from a bank or financial institution to help you buy a house, which you pay back in small amounts over time. Example, they had to take out a mortgage to buy their new home, and they will pay it off over 30 years. Rent, meaning the money you pay regularly to live in a house or apartment that you don't own. Example, instead of buying a house, they decided to rent an apartment in the city centre. Lease, meaning a legal agreement between a tenant and a landlord about renting a property, usually for a set period of time. Example, they signed a 1-year lease for the apartment, which means they have to stay there for at least 12 months. Down payment, meaning the amount of money you pay upfront when buying a house, usually a percentage of the total price. Example, to buy the house, they saved up enough for a 20% down payment. Co-living, meaning a modern form of shared housing where people live together in the same house or apartment, and share common spaces like kitchens and bathrooms. Example, he decided to try co-living to save money, so he shares a house with 3.
We'll see you next time with more exciting discussions. Take care, and remember your take matters.